Yes, welcome into Sports Bet. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. We're back. Thursday, June 1st. Big game breakdown. Game 1, also finals preview. Deep dive, college football games of the year released Monday at the South Point. Chris Andrews and Jimmy Vacarro. Before we get out of here, the play of the day. So we'll go heavy with props, everything NBA. The finals are finally here. We'll do that. Don't forget the Google Hangout after Game 1, coming up about 9 o'clock Pacific tonight. Bad bets right off the get-go. What is going on with the Cubs? Panic time in Chicago. And they took a ton of money. $1.75 up to $2.30. Arrieta pitched well. They couldn't hit. They lose 2-1. They get swept again. They've been swept 4 times on the season. They were swept 4 times combined the last 2 years. Look at this lineup. Look at this, what these guys are hitting entering June. Schwarber 170, Russell 216, Rizzo 227. Oh, Cubs get swept by the Padres, debacle.
Yeah, I mean, they only had 5 base runners. You know, I mean, Schwarber, as you mentioned, down to 170 for the season. But think about this from a historical perspective, okay? We're 50-plus games into the season. How many times in MLB history has a team with a losing record, Chicago's 25-27, now they went into the game at 25-26, that was on a 5-game skid after last night, 6 in a row, with a starting pitcher with an ERA, what do you have, 4.92 going into the game, and they were more than $2 on the road. I don't know how often that's happened in MLB history. It's not an easy thing to look up. I'll bet you it hasn't happened a whole lot. And look at this from Matthew Holt. There was one bettor yesterday, or a group of bettors, who were not real happy with the results of this game, Pauly.
Well, it was probably one individual who's a professional boxer. $460,000 bet on Cubs money line, only the second bet of more than $400K this year. I think you have a good idea who it is, who's going to walk up and bet that, and they're going to take it. So they went to 270 at CG Technology. Big move there, and another loser. Another bad bet, the Reds. 135 down to 110. Blue Jays, red hot. The markets reacted in 0-2 low in Donaldson.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a big 4-game series against the Yankees coming up today. So they said, all right, Donaldson's got the day off, Tulo's got the day off, no problem. Russell Martin gets a rare start at third base for Donaldson, and it paid off. You know, Luke Miley was a catcher, ended the game batting .058. What'd he do? He had a key 2-run bomb. Toronto's rolling right now. I was surprised how heavy the markets moved against them yesterday. This is a team you might be able to make money with here in June.
And another one. Third day in a row, the bettors got the Phillies Marlins total wrong. First 2 games, they bet it over, and it stayed under. Wednesday, they pounded it under, 8.5 down to 7.5, and the Marlins went over by themselves.
Yeah, Nola got pulled after 3 innings for a high pitch count. He had 73 pitches at the time. You know, Pete Mackinnon, the Phillies manager, the embattled Phillies manager, quote, "Too many pitches for me. I didn't want him to get hurt and throw 100 pitches in 4 innings. Obviously, the bullpen behind him wasn't very good either. But Nola's a guy who the markets have shown some respect for. Well, they showed respect yesterday for him in terms of the total, and that was a wrong bet. Bad bet for Phillies Marlins under again, Pauly, as you mentioned. 3 days in a row, the exact same thing.
Bad for the books, the Astros again. The Twins are fade material until further notice. They get beat again. That bullpen's a horror show. Astros bet up from $1.15 to $1.45. It was close. It was a 1-run game. Then the Twins bullpen got involved. 17-6 final. Twins bullpen against the Astros. 7 innings pitched, 28 runs, 26 earned, ERA of 33.
That's a rough series. Anytime you have an ERA of 33 for a series, you know, when you give up 28 runs in 7 innings, it wasn't just that one 11-run inning, it was the entire series. But, I mean, Hector Santiago wasn't good for Minnesota. Remember, he was thrown out of sync. He had to pitch in relief in that crazy game on Sunday, and he gave up 3 more home runs. But, I believe that is the worst single series in MLB history. How bad was it? Well, they had to use the catcher Chris Jimenez to pitch the 9th, and he gave up 2 runs. That lowered the series ERA from 36 to 33.42. That is a bad 9th inning, or that's a bad, wow. The guy comes in and gives up 2 runs, and the bullpen ERA goes down. That's ugly, Pauly.
You know, in sports betting, it never ceases to amaze how strong it is, and it won't slow down. How about these numbers in Nevada? A record win in baseball in the month of April, and it was the second highest handle in April for Nevada sports books.
That doesn't surprise me. Look, we're doing this show because we see it, Pauly, on a daily basis. Sports betting just becomes more and more popular. When you look at the casino games, I'm not going to say they're dying, but you know, there's not a great future for slot machines. When we talk about what 20 years from now, where slots are going to be at, where the table games are going to be at. Sports betting's different. Sports betting's hot. It's fun. People like to do it. And you see over and over again, handle numbers, hold numbers, rising and rising and rising. That's good news for all of us when the handle goes up. It's not good news for all of us when the books have their biggest win in history for MLB in April.
Well, the players crushed it in May, supposedly. Up next, the NBA Finals. Here we go. Game 1 and series preview, plus some props on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Time for big game breakdown. As always, live odds, SBR odds, and Sportsbook review. Check out the rating guide. Make sure you're betting with a trustworthy shop. Game 1 tonight. Here we go. Warriors are 7. 226.5 the total in some spots. 226.5 in Vegas. Some 225s offshore. Series price 260. Take back plus 210. Road team on a 1-11 run. The last 12 game 1 straight up in the finals. LeBron's been a dog in the finals 6 times, counting this year. He's only been favored twice. 2013 against the Spurs. They were minus 220. He should have lost that series. But they won in 7. 2011, they were favored against Dallas. They lost that one. They were $1.75. This would be the biggest finals upset if Cleveland wins since 2004 when the Pistons shocked the world. The Lakers were a $7 favorite, and the Pistons beat them in 5 games. You want to get nuts? We got some props as far, the Cavs are as high as 50-1 in some spots to sweep. You see 15-1 in 5, Cavs in 6. 5.5, 6-1, Cavs in 7 plus 850. Warriors in a sweep, 8-1. Warriors in 5 plus 275. Warriors in 6, $4. Warriors in 7, about 275 as well. How about the total, Teddy? I mean, you go back. I don't know what the Lakers-Celtics totals were in the 80s, but I don't think you're ever going to find a total this high in NBA Finals history.
Certainly not in the 20 years that I've been, 19 years that I've been in Las Vegas. We haven't seen totals like this for the NBA Finals. And whenever you're going to see totals really before the 90s, you're talking about totals in the 80s, they weren't widespread. I'd be very iffy with any numbers that I saw for totals-wise from that era. So this may well be, if not the highest total in NBA Finals history, one of them. But let's start to break down the series because we're talking about star versus star. I mean, the games are spaced out the way it plays out. Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So there's multiple games with 3 days in between. So this is one of those series where we can expect to see many of the key cogs get to 40 minutes plus game after game. And, of course, when we start talking about matchups, we got to talk about Iggy time, baby. Andre Iguodala, a guy who, in each of the last 2 finals, didn't play a ton of minutes in the regular season. All of a sudden, when it's time to guard LeBron, he's getting the major minutes. Look at the graphic. You can see what's happened each of the last 2 years. And this is a guy who understands guarding LeBron about as well as anybody ever has. I'm a little bit concerned about his conditioning. Remember, he only played 10 minutes in the opener versus the Spurs. He missed game 2, so we're talking about a guy that's had, about 50 minutes of court time in the last 3 weeks. Last year he had a back injury in the finals. This year he had a left knee injury, but, you read the quote from Iguodala, he doesn't seem too concerned. Quote, "It's good. Right now it's just time you have to block out everything. Seems like a long time, but I view pain as a good thing. Anything that's painful, whether it's mentally or physically, is part of the process, and that's the reward when the goal is completed."
Well, that was big. Curry was hurt last year. Iguodala's back gave him issues. I don't think you're going to see a lot of him in this series. He's 11% from 3 shooting. Also, I think you're going to see a lot of Draymond Green on LeBron as well, as Iggy hasn't got a lot of minutes and his shot's been off. Also, his shot's been off. Klay Thompson, they got to get him going. Still, 12-0 straight up in the playoffs. Average margin of victory, 16 points per game. so you can't really pick apart the Warriors. But imagine if they can get Klay Thompson going. Can he get his shot back? He'll draw the assignment. Well, they're going to switch everything, but you figure he'll draw the assignment of guarding Kyrie. But look at this graphic. On the season, 22 points per game, field goal percentage 46.8, three-point percentage 41.3. Playoffs, just 14 points per game. He's really only gone off one time in the playoffs, shooting 38% and 36% from three. Quote, I'd like to see the ball go in the basket. It has, just not as frequently as I want. That means nothing now. That's in the past. It wouldn't have mattered if I shot lights out if we didn't finish the job off. And you wonder if his shooting impact and his slump will impact his defense against Kyrie. Quote, I take pride in both sides of the ball. Defense is equally as offense. Whether or not my shot falls, I can control that part of the game. I've asked a lot of people this. You get different answers. Do you put LeBron on Durant? Who defends Durant in this series?
That's the biggest X factor for that particular matchup, is who's going to stop Durant, because we have ideas of what the Cavs might want to do with Curry. We've seen them play against Curry in the finals before, and against, obviously, Thompson and Green and so on and so forth. But the addition of Durant this year makes a lot of questions for what Cleveland can do defensively. Look, all right, and a lot of it's going to do with who's playing small and who's going to try to play big. You know, if the Warriors go small and Iggy is healthy and on the floor playing four, that all of a sudden makes Tristan Thompson a bigger factor for Cleveland. And, of course, you know, Thompson has a capacity to overpower Green or Durant and have his way on the offensive glass. But when Golden State goes small, it also means that Thompson has to guard Green or Durant on the perimeter. That's likely to leave the rim open. But, I mean, when we look at the Durant matchups in particular, I mean, maybe LeBron probably is the best defender they have for Kevin Durant. But if you use up all his energy on defense, you know, it's a problem because they're going to need his offense. Now, Durant can shoot beyond where Love and Thompson's are accustomed to guarding him. You know, he can beat those guys off the dribble. I think he would go through Channing Frye like he was invisible. So maybe it is LeBron on Durant. That'd be fun to watch for 7 games, Pauly, even for 6, even for 5.
Last year, that guy was Harrison Barnes, who they left wide open. He couldn't make a shot. Now it's Durant, night and day. Third finals that features 7 players that made an all-star team in the same season. This is loaded. This is star power. As far as the bench, who knows what to expect as well. Well, we see a lot of Kyle Korver. He can't guard anybody, but we'll see if he can make an impact on offense. If he can't guard anybody and he's a liability, which could happen, you'll see more of Shumpert. And, well, I don't think you'll see a lot of Channing Frye, who did not get on the floor a lot in the series last year as well. His defense is an issue. And Kevin Love struggled big time in the finals last year as well. They'll look to expose him. Remember, this Cleveland defense stunk. Don't buy into it. They didn't fix anything. Now, talking to David Thorpe, at Coach Thorpe on Twitter, had him on the VSiN radio show, on average, the Celtics were shooting 34 threes a game in the Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland. 27 of the 34 were either open or wide open. This is not Smart, Crowder, or Olynyk. This is Curry, Durant, and Thompson. If they're unaware of these threats and weapons, they could get buried. Remember, the second worst defense in the league post-All-Star break. We have Steve Kerr news. As far as the coaching matchup, is it Lou against who? Looks like Mike Brown will go tonight, but Kerr says, if he don't want to rule myself out, but then he also told Ramona Shelburne that he thinks he could come back at some point during this series.
Yeah, and that worries me about Golden State. I mean, Kerr's been involved with the planning. He's traveling to Cleveland, just as he did to San Antonio in the Western Conference Finals, but he's not expected to sit on the sidelines, at least not right away. Quote, as of right now, I will not coach Thursday night. It's still up in the air. I'm ready, but I'm not ready to coach yet, which, whatever that means. I'm still feeling a lot of the effects of what I've got going on. That's an uncertain coaching situation. You look at the other side of the equation, and here's LeBron talking about Tyronn Lue. Quote, it's just his level of calmness, no matter what's going on. He always talks about, at the end of the day, he's already won in life, so whatever else happens after this is extra credit. And I feel the same way. That's why I relate to him so much. It's the even-keeled mentality about our coach, and it definitely helps us as players when we are going out into a war. So, I mean, in theory, going into the postseason, we're like, hey, you know, we like Lou over Kerr. we like Kerr over Lou, but didn't matter in the finals last year. And given the uncertainty in Golden State and the positive things everyone's saying about Lou in that Cleveland locker room, I'm not so sure there's a legitimate coaching edge for the Golden State side in this one.
All right. I think McGee could have a big series and play a key role for Golden State as well. Who defends the rim when Thompson's out? That could be something to watch. Let's throw those props up there. Game 1 props tonight at the Westgate here in Las Vegas. Largest lead by either team, over under 17.5. That's high. Total made threes. I'll never bet this under with Golden State. 24.5. LeBron's total's 32 points and 17 rebounds and assists. Look at that.
And look at LeBron for made free throws. You know, the over-under 6.5 made. It's interesting. These are from the Westgate. They listed LeBron's made free throws. They listed Curry's taken free throws at 4.5. Other over-unders for points. We've got Kyrie over-under 25.5. Love over-under 18. And that's one, you know, I'd be looking under initially. I know he's had a good postseason. I don't think he matches up particularly well with Golden State. So if I'm going to play one of these props, the love under is one that makes sense to me at 18 points. Curry over under 27.5. Durant over under 28.5 points. So it's interesting to see Durant aligned higher than Curry. Klay Thompson at 18.5. And of course, for Draymond Green, it's not points. It's points, rebounds, and assists. Draymond Green over under 28.5. Anything stand out to you from that list, Pauly?
I like Green over. I think he's over 40% from 3 in the playoffs. He's been terrific. Oh, Klay Thompson definitely under. Oh, he's got to prove it to me. Only 18.5. He's averaging 14 as we talked about earlier. So I'd go Klay.
And I might look for largest lead of the game to stay under the total as well. What's that, 17.5? I don't think game 1 doesn't feel like a blowout to me. It just doesn't.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. Okay. Up next, deep dive. College football games of the year released Monday at the South Point. Chris Andrews is high on some teams. There's opinion backed opinion with some of these as well. We'll get to rundown most of these coming up next on SportsBet. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
What's up, everyone? I'm Drew Martin with SBR. Want to give you an update on a free handicapping contest that we're putting together. It's called the MLB June Bet Points Contest. The purse is 1,500 SBR bet points, which go to the top 5 finishers. The top 5 finishers also get an SBR t-shirt, and the winner of the contest can be featured on one of SBR's shows. I'm Drew Martin for SBR. Make sure to find it on the SBR tab on the SBR website. I'll see you in the contest.
Hey guys, given that you're watching this show, it's safe to say that you're the type of bettor who does his research, crunches his numbers, and takes this seriously. I gotta ask, why are you not taking advantage of sportsbook bonuses? We spend hours waiting for the line to adjust slightly, and yet we're ignoring the free money on offer. Knowing that a successful sports betting season is a marathon, not a sprint, ask yourself, what's your limit? How much am I willing to risk for the duration of the season? And go ahead and make your deposit so that you can take advantage of these great offers. Do yourself a favor. Visit the top bonuses page on SBR to find a top-rated book with a tempting bonus offer. Some of the top sports books are offering 50% bonuses up to $2,500. Yeah, $2,500. Change the course of your season by giving yourself a head start when it comes to building your bankroll. Visit SBR's top sportsbook bonuses page right now.
Excellent. Very good. We love it. Now, they're working overtime at the South Point here in Las Vegas. Jimmy Vacarro, Chris Andrews, they came out with Week 1 college football lines on Friday. Monday, it was games of the year. And then coming soon, win totals for every single team in college football. Come on. All right, Saturday, September 9th. I thought this was high because Sweeney doesn't know whose quarterback's going to be. You lose Watson and Williams. Clemson 7 at home against Auburn, and Auburn gets the Baylor transfer Stidham to play quarterback.
Yeah, and then the one that stood out to me again, this is week 2 of the college football season. Penn State laying 19 to Pitt. You remember Pitt beat them last year, but Penn State is one of the teams that the South Point has clearly taken an opinion on. Chris Andrews and company like the Nittany Lions going into 2017. And there's a number of Penn State point spreads that we're going to talk about that, had me raise my eyebrows a little bit, that looked a little bit high.
14 at home to Michigan, bet down to 10. That's a surprise. He's high on Penn State. He's high on Wisconsin. He's big on Clemson. He doesn't know what to make of Florida, which I think Florida could have a good year. There's some value with Florida. They're underdogs in Jacksonville against Georgia. They're catching 5 at home against Florida State. No surprise he's big on Florida State as well, and he is sky high. Chris Peterson in Washington too. Washington is laying 3 touchdowns at home to Utah and Washington State.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised against Washington State because the betting markets haven't given Mike Leach and Wazoo a whole lot of credit in recent years. That's why they've been such a good point spread team over the last couple seasons, and I expect to see more of the same in that regard in 2017. But it's interesting to see some of these Pac-12 teams. Talk about Washington getting a lot of love. USC's another team that bettors seem to be a little bit excited about for the beginning of June. The Trojans, one team that took money on a couple of their games of the year because bettors seem to think the Trojans are going to have a pretty good season.
Saturday, October 21st, Florida State 6.5 at home to Louisville. The ultimate revenge game. After what happened last year, they were blown out, destroyed, and embarrassed in that one. Surprised USC is only 6.5 at Notre Dame. Kelly on the hot seat. Boise State underdogs in BYU. And they're also, I think they're a touchdown underdog at San Diego State as well, which is surprising. And Clemson, this one surprised me too. Saturday, November 11th, Clemson is 5 at home to Florida State. Oh, a lot of respect.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at these numbers, again, these are not broad market numbers. These are not mature numbers. This is one sports book with modest limits. You can get down a dime on these wagers. You're not going to get down huge money. But it's one sports book who said, let's put a bunch of numbers. Let's take some action on it. So we respect that. And we respect they say, all right, we got opinions. We like Wisconsin. We like Penn State. We like Clemson, who, certainly from the state of the program, I don't think Clemson is way down this year. We're not talking about Swinney has a program going in this direction. And boy, that recruiting class was something else. But what's interesting to me is how much they dislike Michigan. I mean, you were talking about they're talking a down year from Harbaugh and company, and I know that the Wolverines graduated a ton, especially on the defensive side of the football. But I don't expect a down year from Michigan quite as much as the South Point staff does. And that's what piqued my interest, at least at first glance, with these very early numbers.
Yeah, Saturday, November 25th, great games. Florida State, 5 at Florida, as I mentioned. Ohio State is 8 at Michigan. Wisconsin's 10 at Minnesota. Stanford, 11 at home to Notre Dame. Also, look at this. Look at the Civil War. In Eugene, Oregon is only 2 against Oregon State. Taggart takes over. You also have Leavitt, who's a new defensive coordinator from Colorado. That's a surprise. Oregon is only a small favorite in Wyoming, too, earlier in the season. You ever think you'd see the day where Wyoming could have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft? They're talking about Josh Allen being Andrew Luck. That's crazy. But you see Wyoming only a small dog at home against Oregon earlier in the season as well. All right, money time, play of the day. Well, this game is moved. Liked it better at 5, but makes sense. It's up to 7. Stanford 7 at San Diego State, September 16th. Sandwich spot between USC and UCLA. The markets were fixated on that, not who the better team is. Stanford already knows their starting quarterback. San Diego State, Chapman, still healing from thumb surgery. But to us, it boils down to Pac-12 against Mountain West. Not like San Diego State has a home field advantage to begin with. Let's take Stanford -7 on the road to lay it and whoop up on the Aztecs in that one. Google Hangout tonight, 9 o'clock Pacific, after Game 1. Get in here with your questions. We'll fire away and go rapid fire with MLB and also the NBA Finals props and all the other good stuff as well. And then what are we doing? We're doing NFL team previews Friday. Back to the NFC South.
Yes,
right?
So help me God, we will do NFL previews tomorrow. We're going to start the NFC South with the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, very good. Fun show. We'll talk to you then on SportsBet. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.